Hi everyone, it's Dasher Dave here and I'm back for another video. This time I want to do a bit of a tutorial on a technique that I've kind of discovered. I haven't seen anybody else do it that I'm aware of. Obviously if you know differently, then please feel free to tell me. But it's something that I've found as a easy cheats way to make glassine, because I can't afford to buy glassine, not real glassine, and certainly not vintage glassine. It's all extremely expensive because people know that we want it, so they've put up prices because they know that they'll sell it anyway. So I've made my own glassine. So these are some of the things that I've made. So I've got a little envelope here, okay. And I've got another envelope here. Okay, so this has just got these have just got cards in so that you can see what I mean. So this is what I mean by it's glassine. So it looks like glassine. Now it doesn't exactly feel like glassine. It's not a direct replica, but it definitely takes on the appearance of glassine. So if you're making stuff out of it, to go in journals, that would be great. So this is another example here. So this is just a slide, and it makes it translucent because that's what glassine is. And there's another envelope here which is again nice and transparent, and they're just different colours because it depends on what you do with it, so as to whether you add a tint to it or not. So okay, so I'll show you the pieces. So these are the sheets of paper. Now you can tell what this is from. These are all bits of pattern paper. So when you buy pattern paper, and we like the bits where it's got like pin here, and it tells you what machine foot to use, and it has all of these dots and dashes and things on. But then we have a whole host of things that are just a bit boring and dull with just lines on it. And do we actually use it? I don't know. Well, I do occasionally, but not very often. And actually I want to make it into the star of the show. So there's more here. So this is just one that's not been tinted as much. There's more. So this is just with slightly thinner paper, but I will tell you, it makes it very strong. So it's great for using as envelopes. The windows, when you replace the plastic window, you can replace it with some of this. So it's great for stuff like that. And it's so easy to make, and it's really quick to dry as well. And it's not going to kill you with all the toxic fumes that you get from some things. Now, I have seen other people use techniques of using tracing paper or tissue paper and using a spray varnish, so which is quite toxic, and they always say to do it in a well ventilated area or to do it outside. Now I don't have a garden, so doing stuff outside is really hard for me. Also I live in the UK, so doing stuff outside means everything's wet. So doing stuff in a well ventilated area, I can be in my craft room. Is it well ventilated? I don't know. How do I find out? Well, when I get high, it's not the way to find out, is it? So so I came up with a different method. Now it's really simple. Like I say, I'm not claiming that it's only something that I've come up with, but it's something that I've not seen anybody else do. So and like I say, if you know different, then point it out to me. Okay, so all I have used is some tissue. So this is dressmaker's tissue, so it's the stuff that goes on into making patterns and things. Okay, this is quite a big piece, so I'm just going to try and tear it down in some kind of a straight line. There you go. And when you're making it, sometimes like this, it has a matte side and it has a shiny side. So what you want to do is you want to flip it so the matte side, sorry, the matte side is up and the shiny side is down. And all I use is watered down Mod Podge. Now I've tried other things, and yes, they do work, but the matte Mod Podge just gives it that nice sheen rather than a shine. And if you look at Glassine, it has a sheen rather than a shine. So it's literally watered down Mod Podge. Now, in some of them, the lighter coloured ones, I've used it with, I've tinted it. So this is just, I know it looks like I've been doing an experiment, and it's kind of congealed a little bit. This is just literally some watered down Mod Podge with a bit of vintage photo in it. And that's all it is. Now, you really do need to use, I've tried it with the just standard Mod Podge, not diluted, the undiluted Mod Podge, and it's too thick. It doesn't do the job. You don't get anywhere near as good a effect as you do as good effect as you do with watered down Mod Podge. Okay, so I'm going to do half and half with this. So I'm going to do this half. Well, actually, I think because I've got less of this, I'll use this half because it's slightly smaller. I'll do this half in the tinted and this half in the watered down Mod Podge, and you can see what I mean. So literally, that's all you're going to need. I would suggest, just for ease of removal, that you either use, you could use a piece of laminated paper, so you know, plastic laminated paper, because it's non-stick, yeah, or a non-stick mat, and mine's just literally an oven liner. You could do it on other surfaces, of course, but remember, you're using glue and it will adhere unless it's smooth. You could try to do it on your glass mat, but what you're not going to be able to do is you're not going to be able to peel the two away from each other. Okay, so I'll carry on with what I'm going to do. So this is might have to add a little bit more to that, so it might not be quite as tinted as it was before, just because I'll never be able to get it out otherwise. Okay, so this side is going to be the tinted, and then you'll be able to see what the difference is. Okay, so again, watered down Mod Podge is all it is. The matte side up, and all you're going to do is you're going to brush it on, just like if you were doing decoupage. You'd be decoupaging it onto something, and what you're going to do is you're just going to brush it on. Now you'll start to see it going translucent now. Okay, and there's areas where it isn't, and you'll get crinkly lines in it. Don't worry, the crinkly lines don't tend to stay there after you've dried it or after it's dried. You can leave it to dry naturally, or you can dry it with a heat gun. Both work perfectly fine. I haven't actually found a difference in the two, but let's just get to the end of this bit. So you're brushing all over, and as you brush, you'll find it starts to stick to the mat. Now that's absolutely fine. If you're using non-stick mat, that's absolutely fine. If you're using, I don't know, an old book, maybe not. And what you need to do is, where you see these these opaque areas, you need to brush over those. You'll actually find that quite a few of them got like bubbles underneath them. Laptop. Sorry, bubbles laptop. Sorry, that's what I think every time. It's a Ab Fab quote, and actually I didn't watch Ab Fab very much, but I know that. I think that's because Brian quotes it a lot. Brian's here, by the way, just in case you wonder what that sound is in the background. So just brushing through it all, and just catching any of the bits where you see there's a bubble there, and I'm just chasing it out. Catching any of the bits that aren't transparent. If it rips a bit, don't worry, you know, kind of just adds to the whole effect of it being old. But that ring is actually on this mat. I don't know how I managed to melt a non-stick oven liner, but I did. So yeah. So maybe I should go into product testing. If it starts to get a bit dry, just add a bit more. You can't, I mean, obviously you don't want to over wet it because you don't want to end up with like a slick of this on the top, but you can't you can't do any damage by over wetting it. Once it's wet, it's wet. It's not going to get any more fragile. It can only take a certain amount, and it still holds itself together. So that's the side with the tint to it, and you're not going to get all of the opaque patches. You are going to get most of them though. Okay, so go over it and take your time just to do that, to make sure that you get as many of them, and you'll appreciate it at the end when you've got a much more uniform feeling of transparentness. Transparentness, again, another word I don't even think exists, but it does now. So now we're going to do just the watered down Mod Podge. Now, just because I'm right-handed and I find it easier to brush to the right, I'm just going to turn my mat round. Okay, this won't have any effect on the outcome, so don't think you have to turn your mat round. It's easier for me. So perhaps put a little bit too much Mod Podge on this bit, but I can always pick it up and drag it over here. And what you're trying to do first is initially just paste it on. Yeah, don't worry about trying to chase out those transparent bits, just pasting it on as you go. Okay, again, don't worry about the creases that you get in it, and then just go back and take your time chasing out the air bubbles, and also going over the bits that are still quite opaque. And even though with the white you do tend to, you tend to see more of the white, and it's harder to see the opaque bits, you can still see them, and you can still get most of them. And all it will do is it will just give you a more of a mottled effect. So don't worry, don't be really gentle. You need to be fairly firm with it. It is quite strong. It's so much stronger as well when it's dry than it ever was before it was dry. So going all over it, just picking up all of those. Well, picking up, I mean tracing out all of those air bubbles. And obviously you can cut it down. I only ripped it because it was just easier. So there we go. So that's those. So that's that side. So this is just the Mod Podge side, and this is now the tinted one. So let's just put. Oh no, that's not a water jug, Dave. Don't put that in there. Don't want that. It's like Brian's just offered me a water jug that's like pond water. So I don't want that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dry it now. Now you can leave it to dry. Now I did leave it to dry, but what I found is I was too impatient. I got so excited about it, I was too impatient for it to just dry naturally. So I tried drying it with a heat gun, and you actually don't have any. The effect is no different, so it's not like you get a better result. Like I say, that ring is actually from the mat, from where I melted it. Again, like I say, I have no idea. I must have been transporting molten lava or something to be able to melt one of these mats. And all I'm doing now is just drying it out. So you just need to take your time and go over it. Like I say, it is so robust when you peel it up. Obviously I haven't got these bits out because this is where they met in the middle, and I didn't want to overbrush each side. Okay, so this is fairly dry. Now all you need to do now is trust me on this. You need to peel it up. Okay, so you find a corner and you peel it, and you go gently. Okay, and you do need to kind of chase it down to one end, and if it starts to feel like it's going to rip, just grab the other bit. But like, it is fairly when it's dry, it's fairly robust. It's just it's not 100% dry yet. So now I'm just going to peel it off, taking any bits that I'm missing with me. Sorry if I've stopped talking, I'm just concentrating.
Tongue stick out the side?
No tongue stuck out, no. Just tearing. Just peeling, I mean, not tearing. Trying not to tear is what I'm actually doing. So be careful, it's just like sellotape. When you get to the end, don't ping it, it'll stick to itself otherwise. And then all I'm going to do is, now if you can just, if you want to leave it to dry, then leave it to dry, and that's fine. Like I say, it will dry perfectly fine and perfectly flat on a mat. And I am a poet, and I didn't know it. So all I'm doing is just flipped it over so I could dry it quicker for the purposes of the video. Now I would suggest that you just leave it stuck to the mat and you let it do its thing. So speed it up with drying with the heat gun, and then let it completely dry off. You know, if you want to peel it off and put it somewhere else and do another one, then that's fine, but I would suggest you just leave it. So don't try and handle it too much. So, and I always think that the one that I've coloured looks more translucent than the one I've just Mod Podged. But you know, we'll be able to see the results in a minute. I'll just see if it's dry. I always think it smells like baked potatoes as well, so just, you know, that's just for you. Okay, so this is the side with the colour in it, and this is the side without the colour. Now you see, I think that's definitely more translucent. So I don't know why. There's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather. But no, I don't know why it does that, because they're both the same thickness. It just does. Okay, so and I don't know. I actually don't know about, you know, could you go over it? I think once you've coated it, you've coated it. So let's do another one, but let's do it all in the coloured Mod Podge. The what's it got in it? The vintage photo Mod Podge. Just adding a bit more to it, so it's gonna get lighter every time I do it. But I could always put a little bit more vintage photo in here, I suppose. Is it the addition of the vintage photo? You do have to get in a terrible mess in order to get the lid off these things.
It must be though, because the glue is milky white, isn't it? So.
Broke my blade trying to do it. But I've done it. I've got the thing out, though. So don't break your blade trying to do it. But you know, we're all here to have a bit of fun, aren't we? So, although I am going to look dodgy going to work with very brown fingers. So that's what I wanted to do. Get that bit out. And just don't tip it all in. Literally, a little goes a very long way. Ooh, he says. Tipping it all in. With your wobbly hands. Your 52-year-old hands. Yeah, that's gone very dark. That's like coffee before you've added the milk. It's alright, we'll find somewhere to put this. I think I did keep one of my old Mod Podge containers to be able to put this in. So I'm just going to paste it on. Remember the technique, just pasting out. I mean, like, you can go in different directions. You know, it's not like because, you know, you're pasting a certain way. It's just that I find doing it this way, you get much more control over the amount of creases you get in it, amount of bubbles and that sort of thing. Laptop. if you've never seen it, it's that episode. Then you know, I can only explain it as she brings a lap dog.
Laptop? Laptop?
So Brian's doing the
Get
bubbles
rid of
thing.
it.
So yeah. Anyway, so Brian's doing reenacting as he does every episode of Ab Fab that he can remember.
It's the same with most things.
Yeah, he does reenact everything. He does, like, you know, well, like you can go and see these reenactment things. He does it all on his own. So, like I say, just paste in one way, and that way then you can control the creases and you can control the air bubbles. Air bubbles, not the other one.
She is an air bubble.
So, like I say, just paste it out. Just get rid of all of those air bubbles, keep going. And, you know, I am not being gentle. I'm not being gentle with this. I'm going for it. You kind of... Don't press really hard and, like, you know, kill your brush, obviously. But, you know, a bit of firm pressure helps to... You're pushing the glue into the fibres of the paper. So just pushing all of those bubbles out to go. Doing the same this way. And I like the technique. I like the outcome. Like I say, I've made a few things with it. I got a bit giddy as well. I started like making everything and trying different things. I'll show you what else I tried in a moment. Well, not a moment, but in a while. And we'll show you what else I tried, because you can try it with other things, which I have done. And I've tried it so that you can see the results before you try it.
Before you buy.
So just trying to get as many of the more opaque bits. Just, the more you kind of do the dabbing thing, the kind of pushing it into the fibres of the paper. So I think I've got an air bubble into that. Oh no, just made a little hole in it. I did. I have a bit of crispy glue under there. So there we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just dry this off, because you don't want to sit here and watch it dry, do you? So. So there you go. So that's it. So that's another piece done. So, like I say, it still has a crinkle to it. It's and like the other good thing about it is because you've kind of plastic coated it a bit now. And plastic coated, not Plastic Coat, which is a brand. Plastic coated it. What you've got is you get a side that's more matte and a side that's more glossy. Yeah. But you can sew it because it's a bit stronger and it's not going to tear as easily. Especially now it's dry, it doesn't tear as easily. Obviously it will tear, you know, don't get me wrong, it still tears, but it doesn't come apart so easily. You know, it's got a fair bit of strength to it. So the other things that I tried were, so we'll start with this one. So this was just tracing paper. This is fairly good quality tracing paper. Don't worry about the ink, it just got splattered. So this was a fairly good quality piece of tracing paper, but you know, any tracing paper, and this is how the tracing paper turned out. So again, you've got a matte side and you've got a more glossy side, but again, that turns out really well, and that's a bit crisper. You know, and the streaks in it are only because I never cleaned my mat, so I'll be honest, that's why. So then the other things that I tried were, I tried onion skin paper. So this is the before and this is the after. So this is how it goes. Exactly the same stuff, and it just makes it translucent. So again, it just adds a different texture or finish to it. It could just be the thing that you need, you know, that thing, that the missing element from your journal that you thought, oh, I just want some different style paper. That might be the thing that you're looking for. So that's that one. I tried it with black tissue paper as well. I wasn't expecting very much from black tissue paper because, you know, it's opaque and it's black. So I tried it. Now, it does look slightly bin liner like, but it has made it a lot more translucent. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it does make it a lot more translucent. And again, you've got a shiny and you've got a matte side. So it might be the thing that you're looking for. That way around, Dave. Then I tried some printed tissue paper. So this is how it looked before, and now this is how it looks after. So as you can see, it's made it, you know, more transparent, translucent. I'm trying not to say translucent too many times. But again, so you could you know, go through all of your tissue paper and decoupage paper and think, what can I do with that? This was just some really cheap tissue paper that it was actually packing in something, and I did the same, and this is how it turned out. And I really love this. I like the hue that it's got. I did do it just with the clear Mod Podge rather than the tinted Mod Podge. Then we've got another piece of tissue paper that I tried, and this is what this turned out like. So again, nice and, you know, translucent. He says again. So people there that are counting how many times I say translucent now.
Surprise! Get it right.
No, you get to take me out for dinner if you get the prize. Get it right. So this is another tissue paper. Now I've got to say this is my least favourite, and I think it's because the tissue paper is my least favourite tissue paper. But it's how you know, it turned out okay, but it's not something I'd write home about. But you know, you can experiment, go and give it a go. This is really, as you can see, this is really cheap tissue paper because it's translucent already, and this is the stuff that you get stuffed into shoes and that sort of thing when you buy them. But what I did with it is I printed on it. So I used just a stamp and printed on it, and then I went over it with the technique, and this is how it turns out. So again, I ripped it to kind of see what it looked like once it had been, you know, glued and finished and glued. and then it keeps the ripped edge intact a bit more. You know, the fibres get less bent and it looks more ripped. So that's it. And then this, although that looks very similar to that, you can tell it's a different thing. This is actually a layer of napkin. So when you get napkins and you peel the back layers off, this is that, and I did the same with that. So I did the same with the napkin, and now this makes this napkin a lot more pliable. You can use it in different things, you know, and I really like it. I like how it's turned out. I was very surprised. I actually thought it would disintegrate. Now, it wasn't the easiest, it wasn't the most stable of things to work with. It does tend to fall apart a bit more. I mean, like, you know, let's just give you a demo. It will crinkle more, and it soaks up a lot more of the glue, which means that it soaks it up and it dries your brush out really quickly. But what you've got to try and resist doing is putting a whole load more on, because what you'll find is it does go really soggy and will start to fall apart. You see how it's falling apart here now? So you just need to be careful of that. Put a bit on, brush it through, try not to over wet an area, and also brush out when you get to the sides, because if you try like I do and brush that way, it will snag and pull it all up. So again, like I say, just brushing out. And the only reason I'm doing this now is because I want to kind of show you what I mean. And so then you can just dry that off, and you will get, you know, a different kind of effect from it. So, but give it a try. Give it a try on all sorts of different things. You might have different. Look for things that are fairly transparent already, because, you know, like tissue paper is opaque, it's not transparent, but by applying this technique you'll get a more transparent finish. The other thing I found it's really good for is recreating that kind of faux sellotape look. So especially if you want it to have that feel of it being a little bit brittle like old sellotape did. Let's try and get this dried, and then you'll see what I mean. Ironically, it's drying quicker in the areas where I haven't got the heat gun. And it might be easier if I just hover rather than doing this. That doesn't always work. So I can get this up now. This might not all come up because I don't know whether it's completely dry. See how much stronger it is though if you try to do this with just the tissue paper. Oh, there you go. See, that bit ripped before the uncoated bit ripped before the coated bit did. Okay, so there you go. So that's it done. So you can see how it, you know, it goes really translucent. So, like I say, you know, give things a try. So this was just a bit lighter than this one. So give them all a try. So let's put these out of the way and I'll show you what I mean by the sellotape effect. So if you get a piece of it and you take your mat out of the way, Dave, because if you're going to do any cutting, you don't want to be cutting on that. So although I could just cut it with a pair of scissors, I guess. So if you just cut it, and you can have bits that look like sellotape. you know, you've got a folded over end on there, which is even better. Just like sellotape goes, but it does look fairly sellotapey. I can't describe it any other way. So, you know, be another good way to make some sellotape to go over things. So, if Brian gave me a piece of his work that he's working on now that I could just borrow. So he's just made this. But if you wanted to kind of make it look like you've sellotaped it over, you know, that looks quite effective. Personally, I think. I don't know. You might not. That's it with the shinier side. So anyway, so that's the technique. Oh, I was giving him the sellotape back and not the card then. This is one. Here's one I prepared earlier. This is one where I've used clear, just normal Mod Podge, and then also the stained Mod Podge. Now everything's falling over underneath my feet, and this was done with a napkin. So it just changes how you can play with it, how you can use those napkins and play with them, because this has now become quite, you know, it's, bearing in mind it's ripped and it's still, oh, there you go. That's torn it. But it's a lot stronger than it was. You know, if you think about pulling a napkin like that, it would just pull apart. So, you know, it just adds something different. Now I'm thinking I might make a little journal pocket out of that, because with all those leaves already in it, that would look really nice. Or maybe a seed packet or something like that. But yeah, give it a try. So, you know, if you like it and, you know, it works, or, you know, you're telling other people about it, don't forget to mention my name. I really do appreciate your, you know, your following me and liking the video as well. That's also nice. But yeah, if you like the technique, give it a try, have a play, share the idea, send your friends over here to see other exciting things that I've got coming up, because I've got some other techniques that are coming up, including how I'm made so these that look a little bit like they're covered in moss and lichen. So there's a video coming very soon. So yeah, to a street corner near you. Oh, there's another one here. And then there's some that are like peeled paint, but like really like old door style peeled paint. Anyway, that's it. So thank you very much for watching me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you did, please like it. Please feel free to comment. I really do appreciate comments. I will reply to everybody's comments. I've got a meeting tomorrow that's going to be interesting with my hands like this, like slightly Dalmatian like. Yeah, please like it, share this video with your friends as well. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next video. So take care. Love to you all. As I say, I love you all without exception, until you give me a reason not to. So don't give me a reason not to. All right, you take care. Have a good day. Bye.